ready to film this video. Hi family, welcome back. This video has been in the works for years and I was never ever going to film it or even tell this story because I just thought it wouldn't be nice. But the person that this story is about has finally given me a reason to tell this story. So this is gonna be fun. I am enraged about this. Okay, so I'll start way back when this started, when I was working at a camp, and well, back then I got crushes very, very easily, and of course I got a certain crush. Hello, Keisha. Hello. Also, my hair's different. I'm not posting the video where I dyed it because I'm like, I have too many of those videos.
Yes.
Yeah. So, anywho, where was I? Okay. This kid, Keesha. Okay, so at camp, the very first day of camp, we were sitting around this campfire. The next day we had to get ready for actual camp so that we could be leaders like we're supposed to be, and we had to clean up the next day and everything. But this night was the day we were all just hanging out and getting to know each other. And I met this one kid, let's call him Cactus.
No, Derek.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just thinking in my head.
Cactus Derek?
Okay.
Okay, let's call him Cactus Derek. So, I remember I had met him a year before at camp when I was a camper. And when I met him, I was a weird kid and I loved to braid guys' hair. I still do, but not like I did back then. I remember running up to him when I ripped his hat off and started braiding all of his hair. That is how I met this kid. I did not know him, but he had long hair. But he had long hair and I was so excited and tempted to braid it. So that's what I did. The next year we'd been Snapchatting a little bit. And so when he came as a leader with me, I was like, oh sweet, someone I can connect with, someone I know. So while I was there, we just had a nice conversation and immediately I get a crush on him. Immediately. And during the next, how long was I there for? 3 weeks? Yeah, the next 3 weeks I got to know more and more and he got to know me more and more. But the thing is he had a crush on another girl who, in my opinion, was much prettier than me, but other people say different, so I don't know, everyone has a different opinion. But yeah, he got a crush on her and he knew that I had liked him, and at this point, in all honesty, he is my first love. Like, I look back, I had so many crushes, but him, he was very different to me. He meant a lot to me. So he got a crush on this girl, and I finally told him, well, I like you a lot. Like, a lot. And, like, I always, like, he just meant so much to me. He just seemed like, he was such a great person as a friend. He was so good to talk to and everything. But then as soon as that other girl would come along, he'd go straight to her. Like the first day at campfire, I was sitting next to him and then he'd see her and then he went over and sat next to her and I was sitting there alone. I remember that. Yeah. And then dinners we'd have at camp, he'd go and sit with her, he'd talk with her after talking with me, of course. And then he'd start slipping away from talking to me at all almost, even though at nights we'd sit at the picnic table and have really deep conversations. And he would always like wrap his arms around me, holding her, and once I remember this so clearly. He's holding her like this, and he looks at me, and he gives me this look as if he's saying, you will never be in this position. Thank goodness. Like, okay, I had fallen for this kid so hard. I really cared about him, and I really believed in my heart at the time that no one could possibly love him the way I loved him. And like at the time, feeling I had for him, thinking back for it was so strong. But he never felt the same way. But what he would do is every few weeks after camp, or during camp even, he would message me or talk to me. We lived a city away, so we didn't really see each other very often. He'd message me whenever he was sad or whenever he was lonely and he wanted to talk. And then finally, about a year later, I was going back to camp, but he wasn't. I had been talking to him. Bless you. I had been talking to him a little bit, and I finally remember having this conversation because for that whole year, I was so obsessed with him. I had a picture of him on my phone. I didn't look at it all the time. I'm not that creepy, but I did have a picture of him on my phone, and I just really cared about him, and I liked seeing him, and I liked talking to him, and I thought he was so handsome, and everything inside of me just wanted to hug him and be around him. And he never felt the same way, of course. But during that whole year, I would start losing feelings. Not really losing feelings, but forgetting about them because he would stop talking to me. And so I'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe I should move on. But then he'd come back and start talking to me again. And he'd be like, okay, to be honest, I really actually did like you. I was just too scared to get hurt again. Okay, I was 15 and he was 16. I get that we get hurt when we're young, but really, like, he always said that. He always said that I was beautiful and I was so pretty, and he would do that to manipulate me. And I bet you anything, he was watching this video right now being like, what? No, I never did that. Which he did all the time. He'd always be like, I actually really did like you, and if there's a possibility, I would love to be with you someday. But then he'd go and stop talking to me for weeks on end until he felt lonely again and wanted a connection because he knew I'd give him that connection because I so desperately wanted him. And with him, he was my first crush who I didn't chase either. All the guys that I had liked before, I had chased, and I would tell them all the time, like, I really care about you, and you're so handsome, blah, 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 blah. I was a cringy kid. But for him, I kind of accepted the fact that he didn't like me, and I knew that he wouldn't either, but I really, really liked him, and I just couldn't let it go for so long. I honestly probably liked this kid until I moved here, or even after. I remember even after, I had a little bit of feelings for him for her a few weeks, because again, he had come back to me when he was lonely and started saying all these really sweet things, and I was like, oh, well, maybe I could give him a chance. Maybe we could be something. But then again, he'd go silent for weeks on end. And like, I remember so many times I'd have mental breakdowns during school because I just so badly wanted to feel loved by him. And I think my insecurities all come from that. Anywho. I truly do believe that most of my insecurities did come from that. I don't even know what to call it. It wasn't a relationship ever. Whatever it was, that's where it all came from, because so many times he would tell me all these things and then I'd be a second choice. I was always his last choice. He'd always get another crush. Even if it wasn't the girl from camp, he'd always get another one. And I am talking. But he'd always get another one, and then he'd leave me for weeks and weeks, and then finally maybe they'd break up with him or stop talking to him, and then he'd message me saying how hurt he was about it, and of course I'd be there to give him the love he desired. And then he would stop talking to me again until he needed me again. And so after the years, after about 2 summers ago, I finally started realizing that this kid just, I know, I should have realized it long before. Like, I did, but at the same time, I just started like telling myself, like, no, this kid isn't worth it, because obviously he doesn't actually care. Obviously he's just using you, and he's not the one. Like, that's just cold facts. And so recently, and here is where, this is why I have a reason film this today. Okay, so I sent him this post from Unhappiest Blog. I sent it to him just simply because I thought of him, and at this point I thought we were still somewhat friends because back in January I had invited him to come out here across the country to my graduation, which I'm making another video about, which I'm also very angry about. And he, like, I invited him, but I was like, in the whole time during it, he's like saying, yeah, I'll come, and I was like, that's great, and he was like, can I take you? And I was like, as in be my prom date? And he was like, yeah, and I was like, because I already had doubts that he was even gonna come out here, and I was like, okay, sure, if he comes out here, he can be my prom date. Big surprise. A few weeks later, I asked him, because he hadn't talked to me since then, I asked him, do you still plan on coming out to my grad? And he was like, depends on if I can afford it. And this kid, when he said that he was going to be my prom date, you've done this to me so many times. You said you were going to do something, you said you would talk to me and all this stuff, but then you don't. So how can I believe that you're going to come out to my prom and be my prom day? I don't want to be left hanging for my prom, right? I don't want to be at my prom alone. Like,
You ain't gonna be alone. I'm going with you.
yeah, this is my prom date now. Oh, screw you, Cactus Derek. But yeah, and so finally he's like, okay, I promise you I will be there, and I, like, no matter what, he's like saying he will be there. And so again, like a few weeks later, he's like, oh, I don't know if I can afford it, depends if I can by then, and if I can get time off work, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, as soon as he says that, I'm like, he's not coming, because I know him at this point. I've known him for years. I've got to know him very personally and very deeply. He got to know me, but when I was 15 too. So I'm a very different person from who I was back then. And so he's come to me in the past 2 years since I moved here, and he's said a bunch of different conversations where he'll say how much he cares about me and how much he wants to be with me, but there's distance and all that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like thinking, what about when there wasn't distance? Like, you can't do that to me. Because honestly, I care about this kid, but not the same way I used to. He had been such a huge part of my life, and he'd grown me so much, changed me so much, and he really changed my opinions on dating and all that. And yeah, but so here's when this free hello phone, can you like turn on please? Okay, so I sent him this thing from Unhappiest Blog, which I started reading and then got off track. I may have loved you first, but I loved you the most. Because, and then I said to him, so random, but I low-key said that same thing about you all that time ago, you know, back then. And I didn't mean to make him feel guilty or something. I was just like, hey, do you remember this? Because sometimes I still grip for some sort of connection with him, like a friend or something, because I still think that he can be a great person if he tries to be, because I knew him. And I knew who he was at camp, and he was a really good person. But then outside of camp, he was a completely different person. And it's not like he wasn't a good person, but he was just different. And he says to me, why are you telling me this? Yeah, I have feelings for you. But not really any way to make you my girlfriend. You are too far away. And so I go, no, I didn't mean that. I was just saying that this post reminded me of you and the whole situation back then. And he says, so my feelings bottled them up? Question mark, question mark. And I'm like, no, we are both growing up right now, so who knows what'll happen in the future. Right now I'm working on myself and my dreams before I let myself fall for anyone else, you know. And then he blocks me on Snapchat. He blocked me on Snapchat because, okay, after that conversation though, I did post something on Instagram, a very long paragraph, which, go check out my Instagram by the way. I'm sorry, I'm getting all scrambled, I can't, whatever, just try, bear with me. So I wrote, fall in love with when you're ready, not when you're lonely. And then I wrote, ever since I was in middle school, I had no self-worth. I couldn't see. Tim Tam! Don't touch the camera, you stupid! Okay, I had no self-worth. I couldn't see beauty in myself. I couldn't find any reason to love me. I chased the boys I liked, and they never wanted me. And to this day, I have no self-worth. Working on it. And I still don't like me. But I've been thinking and remembering about the girl that I once was. And I realized how much I've grown from that naive and hurt little middle schooler. I'm growing up. I know I have a lot of work to do on myself and the way I see myself. But I know I still have a lot of growing to do. But I've grown and I've changed. And I don't need some boy who can't see my worth to define me. I don't need to linger over someone who hasn't even glanced in my direction. I don't feel it, but I know it. Know that I have worth, and I know that someday someone will treat me right with respect and will love me with everything in them. But for now, I'll work on myself. And yes, did she? Oh, she moved my camera.
I like you. I know you do. I love you.
But yes, I did write that right after he'd said that to me because I was like, you know what? I don't need him because seriously right now I'm working so hard on my YouTube platform. I'm starting to write a book. I'm thinking about writing a song even. And I'm just working really hard right now. And and so I posted that. And then he blocked me on Snapchat. And I think he would think that like knowing him, I bet he thinks that I wouldn't have even noticed. But the thing is, when you block someone, you go to the top of their list as your just username. Not your name that I put him as. I see his username. And so I was like, and then I went to send him a message and then it said pending. And I was like, well, that's fun. So, this kid that I had been obsessing over for years just blocked me, promised to be at my prom, promised to be at my graduation. Will he be? No. Not just because he's blocked me, but even if he was to come back, he's not invited anymore. So, I think he might watch this. I don't know. If he is, you know who you are. And if you get mad at this, I'm sorry, but I'm mad at you. I'm not deleting this video. I'm very angry. And I've been dying to tell this story for years. Like, when I first started this channel, that was going to be one of my first videos. But then I was like, no, I can't do that because he's my friend and I have to be nice to him. And, well, he blocked me. So now I can do this. So I hope you guys like this video. Like and subscribe. All of my social media will be down below. Check out me and KEESHAS channel, which will also be linked down below. If you want more stories like this, tell me in the comments, and I will see y'all in the next video.